go. We're live. Go live. We live? Or did I?
Yeah, look at the bottom right there.
Yeah, but it's not moving.
It's live.
There we go. We're on live now. You know, like I said, we have a guy coming in next week that's going to literally show us how we can run videos, do all sorts of different things that we can actually get this to where we're professional at what we're doing. But boy, do I have news. First of all, if you're watching or you stumble across us, you'll see that today's market is already down below 30. I said it would be in the 20s. We're down at 29 and dropping. It's now at 473. It could very easily go to 28 today. The one thing I want to share with everyone is there's news out today that gas prices are going to start going back up again. In fact, Chevron made an announcement today that is warning Americans to brace for higher natural gas prices this winter. And the CEO and the energy chairman of Chevron has now warned us Americans to brace for price increases in natural gas this winter. And it's interesting because on the front it's showing regular gas here in California at $6.69 a gallon. I'm not making this up. And $6.89 for plus, and then if you want to pay for Supreme, $7, $6.99 a gallon. It's crazy. This is all part of inflation, by the way.
This is wild.
This is you think about it. I you know, just to get to work is costing you probably $100 or $200 every 2 or 3 days. It depends on what you're driving, but it's crazy out there. Another big news is that, you know, Goldman Sachs was predicting that things were going to be better. Now they're throwing in the towel, and this is Goldman Sachs we're talking about. And they're slashing the S&P prices now, target to 3,600, and they're warning of a recession crash to 3,150.
It's about 15%.
Yeah. Goldman's chief equity strategist, David Kostin, is telling clients that he saw the broad index tumbling as low as 2,900 in a recession. And as a recession now becomes the bank's best case scenario. And David also, who has been dead wrong about pretty much everything over the past year, just slashed his year-end S&P target from a 4,300 to a whopping 3,600, which is now just about almost 20% lower. And the expected path of interest rates is now higher than we previously assumed, he says, which tilts the distribution of equity market outcomes below our prior forecast. So if you're in the stock market, I would start getting your house in order. Listen to what I'm telling you. I'm doing a whole family today with the brother, the sister, and they may be listening, the brother-in-law, the mother. They see the writing on the wall, and why lose everything that you've worked so hard for? And, you know, because a lot of us aren't out there born with a silver spoon in our mouths, and you work so hard, and then guess what? It's just all yanked away from you. And Goldman's report right now, which is looking ahead, says that the outlook is unusually murky and that most of the bank's clients expect a hard landing.
Now, these are institutional clients.
Yeah.
This is $10 million or greater invested.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. And listen to what they say. They're saying that the forward paths of inflation, economic growth, interest rates, earnings, and valuations are all in flux more than usual, with a wider distribution of potential outcomes. And based on our client discussions, a majority of our equity investors have adopted the view that a hard landing scenario is inevitable. In other words, it's going to happen. And that their focus is on the timing, magnitude, and duration of a recession and investment strategies for the outlook. And finally, and as we warned earlier this week, Goldman now once again very strongly hints that there is a recession coming, which is now, according to them, inevitable. Wow. And let me tell you something. I've been forecasting earnings that they're going to fall and the yield gap will widen. And that's what we're looking at right now. And, I don't want to get too technical, but for context, a 34% peak to trough decline in the S&P 500 index during a recession would only be slightly worse than the historical average of 30%. And Costin, his global equity strategist, this Dominic Wilson, who is a global equity strategist, has even lower S&P targets of as low as 2,900 in a global recession scenario, and one that is now inevitable. So recession, inflation, all of this is coming to your doorstep. And all I can tell you again is, get your house in order. We can only show you the way out. And that's what we're here today to show you, and in the near future as well, those of you that are just sitting there pondering what to do, get off your asses and start getting things in order. Look, here's some more news. The Fed is finally seeing the magnitude of the mess it created. And this was an article that came out this morning. It says, when asked about price inflation in his Sunday interview, we talked about this yesterday, with 60 Minutes, President Joe Biden claimed that inflation was just up an inch. Hardly at all, he said. And Biden continued talking in year-over-year inflation. He's talking about his dishonest tactic of focuses on month-to-month price inflation growth as a means of obscuring the 40-year highs in year-over-year inflation. And while Biden may be pretending that it's all no big deal, the Federal Reserve knows it's better to do something about price inflation, which even the Fed now admits shows no signs of even moderating. And inflation, according to the FOMC's press release, inflation remains elevated, reflecting supply and demand imbalances related to the pandemic and higher food and higher prices and broader price pressures. And this is by far the most hawkish announcement yet out of Jerome Powell, and no doubt reflects that the fact that the Fed has finally come to terms with the fact that inflation is not transitory, as the Fed long insisted, and now it's impossible to deny. Even our Secretary Treasurer, Janet Yellen, she was sitting up there and saying, well, it's just transitory. Well, it's not transitory. Even Biden was saying it. The whole White House, the whole Feds, they were all saying it's transitory. Well, let me ask you, do you feel like it's transitory? No.
That used to be the narrative.
Well, that was it. And this FOMC committee member said that the GDP growth is going to stay above zero for the foreseeable future. And in spite of the 2 quarters in a row of shrinking GDP over the past year, and in spite of the many indications of brewing recession, such as a falling home prices and an inverting yield curve, the recent hikes in the target Fed funds rate suggest an increasingly huge or hawkish position. And the Fed, nothing less, continues to take only the most tepid steps when it comes to reducing the size of the Fed's portfolio. I'm not going to read all this. Look, bottom line is what the Feds are doing is they've let a monster loose, and they can't do what Paul Volcker did and raise the interest rates 20% like they did, like Paul did, especially when you're fighting inflation like it is right now. So we're going to be talking a lot more about this inflation, but all you have to do is look what inflation is doing. And anytime you look at the market and it's all red like it is today, you can tell that there's something really going on, and it's been red after red after red every single day. All right, let's get away from inflation for a minute and let's talk about people crossing over our borders. And this is something that just came out today, and I wanted to share it if those of you that didn't know this. But right now, Venezuela is deliberately releasing prisoners among them, they are saying that these are violent criminals. And they have them travel to the U.S. southern border, a development that prompted 14 House Republicans to write to Homeland Security, to Alejandro. And there's a representative, his name is Troy Nehls, and he's a Republican of Texas. And he's been leading the Republican effort to have the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro, answer questions said in the September 22nd letter, which was yesterday, that the decision by Nicolas Maduro, who, by the way, is over there in Venezuela, the president of Venezuela, regime has put the United States in grave danger. And this is what they wrote. They say, "We write you with serious concern about a recent U.S. Department of Homeland Security intelligence report received by the Border Patrol that instructs agents to look for violent criminals from Venezuela among the migrant caravans heading toward the U.S.-Mexico border." And the letter says, citing a recent report from Brett Bart. And the outlet reported on September 18th that it had received the DHS intelligence report from an unnamed source with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And the report warned that released prisoners, including those of convicted murder, rape, and extortion, had been seen within migrant caravans traveling from Tapachula, Mexico to the southern border as recently as July.
Sounds fishy.
Wow. And the report also said that the Bolivarian National Intelligence Service, Venezuela's intelligence agency, may have played a role in deliberately releasing prisoners.
This is messed up.
They're saying they're releasing them from prison, Venezuelan prisons, to come to the borders into the United States. I got to tell you something. We already had a September 11th. Man, who knows how many people are getting across that border and I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying it could happen. Because if you've got these evil people crossing over the border into the United States and they've been in prison, or I can't imagine what we could be intel for if they're have an organization and they're putting things together. Listen to this. It says here, former President Donald Trump issued such a warning several times in 2021, and he did it again last week while speaking to radio show host Hugh Hewitt, when he said America had become a dumping ground as other nations were emptying their prisons into the United States. Wow. That's what, I hear what Trump is saying, and I get it. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on. What's your opinion on that?
I just start to think, who's funding these caravans, right? Who's providing them the funding, right? Who's being paid out? Like, what's their benefit?
Well, that's a best kept secret, according to what I hear. I have no idea. Look, these migrants, this letter comes as the United States is now seeing an influx of migrants along the U.S.-Mexico border. And this is according to the CBP data. And the number of migrants that are arriving at the southern border right now in 2022 has surpassed 2 million in August, with unprecedented numbers coming from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And the letter points out that there have been more than 130,000 encounters with Venezuelan nationals between October 21st and July 22nd, 2022. I'm sorry, July 2022. And as a result of the administration's disastrous border policies, it's unknown how many of the violent Venezuelan prisoners have been released into the interior of the United States. That's what I was talking about. As identifying Venezuelans with criminal records is nearly impossible unless the individual admits their records to the U.S. authorities. And the letter says this will undoubtedly put our country in grave danger. These 14 Republicans, they want the Mayorkas to answer more than 10 questions, including the precautions that the DHS has taken to prevent these Venezuelan crimes from entering the United States, and have any of the Venezuelan nationals encountered at the southern border this year been suspected to be released prisoners, says one of the questions. And does the DHS have a projected head count of how many released Venezuelan prisoners are expected to enter into the United States? And another question asks, do you have reason to believe that the release of the convicts could be a purposeful geopolitical move specifically intended to impact U.S. national security? We need transparency and accountability from this administration, is what Nell wrote on Twitter. Yeah, we need those questions answered, that's for sure.
These are institutionalized criminals coming to our country.
Yeah, yeah.
Some scary stuff.
Wow. You know, I wish I had happy news to say. Like, it's just like everything that we see every day, there's no shortage of bad news. I'll tell you another one that really caught my attention today is now that Biden says that the United States is now committed to defending the Philippines with Marcos. And that was his first meeting with Philippine president. And listen to this. So Joe Biden, this is as of yesterday, it looks like, reaffirmed. I didn't know that we were going to have to protect the Philippines too, and I didn't even know. But now we have to protect the Philippines from China, from what I understand. Listen to this. President Joe Biden has reaffirmed the United States' ironclad commitment to the defense of the Philippines in his first bilateral meeting with the country's new leader as he seeks to bolster the U.S.-Philippine alliance. And Biden on Thursday met with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., that's the son to Marcos, you know, the one that was caught robbing the gold and everything from the Philippines. And didn't his wife have like 1,000 pairs of shoes or something?
Just about that.
Yeah. Anyway, on the sidelines, he met him on the sidelines. Everything's on the sidelines, by the way. It's on the sidelines. Like, hey, come over here and talk to me. No, come over here and talk to me. I get to see Biden do that. Hey, Ferdinand, let me talk to you over here on the side. I don't want anybody. But on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Marcos, the son and the namesake of the late Philippine dictator. Wait a minute. The guy in North Korea, he's a dictator. His father was a dictator.
Exactly.
I wonder if this one's going to be a dictator. Maybe he's like smoozing.
Think so?
The move might be. Talk to him on the sidelines.
Come over here.
Yeah, come on over here. Come on. Come on, man. Come on, man, come over here and talk to me. Anyway, the two leaders, the two leaders discussed the situation in the South China Sea and underscored their support for freedom of navigation and overflight and peaceful revolution. And they are discussing, and by the way, this is a readout that was issued by the White House, so this isn't a hoax. They also discussed expanding bilateral cooperation in energy, security, climate action, and infrastructure. And Biden commended the Philippines for condemning the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The relationship between the United States and the Philippines, to state the obvious, has very deep roots. We've seen some rocky times, but the fact is, it's a critical relationship from our perspective, he said during his press briefing. Well, Marcos expressed his intentions to strengthen the U.S.-Philippine alliance, noting that his country valued the United States' role in maintaining peace in the region. He wants something. The 100-plus-year-old relationship between the Philippines and the U.S. continues to evolve as we face challenges of this new century and the events that we've been watching over the past few months, Marcos says. China, there we go, China has increased its influence in the South China Sea through its artificial islands and military buildup. The Chinese Communist regime claims the majority of the South China Sea under its so-called 9-dash line, despite competing claims with other nations. And aside from the Philippines and China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei, they have all made their own overlapping claims in the South China Sea as well. So Philippines, they protest against China. Well, that's what they want. They want to be protected from China. And Marcos has previously vowed to uphold the Hague's 26 ruling in favor of the Philippines in the South China Sea dispute, saying that he will not allow China to encroach on a single square millimeter of our maritime coastal. The Philippines have filed over 48 protests against China Sea's incursions under the Marcos administration. His predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte, filed 388. Anyway, so it looks like there might be something now more going on over there in the Asian countries. Now you got the Philippines.
Who's paying who?
I don't know what's happening over there, but also now, and let me tell you, this right here really shook me to the core when I saw this. And this hasn't happened in 4 years. 4 years. And the aircraft carrier, the big aircraft carrier, USS Ronald Reagan, and the guided missile destroyer, the USS Miles, actually is now looking like it's over there in South Korea. And this U.S. aircraft carrier deployed to South Korea now is in show of alliance against North Korea's nuclear threat. And the U.S. Navy now has deployed a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier to South Korea, and it's aimed at demonstrating their strong alliance amid North Korea's nuclear threat. And the USS Ronald Reagan arrived at the southern port city of Busan on Friday, making its first visit to South Korea, I was wrong, in 5 years. And it did not specify how long the ship would remain there. And Rear Admiral Michael Donnelly, the commander of the Career Strike Group 5, said that the ship's visit is a clear and ambiguous demonstration of the U.S. commitment to its defense alliance with South Korea. And the USS Ronald Reagan was deployed last to South Korea in 2017, involving 2 other aircraft carriers in response to North Korea's missile tests. Yeah. So here we go again. More in Asia. Now it looks like we're getting ships out there. Man, imagine if you look out there, there's ships all over out there. But now we have a nuclear aircraft carrier that is sitting in South Korea, right at North Korea's front door. I wonder what he's going to say this time. You think Rocket Man will shoot a rocket? Isn't that what Trump called him, Rocket Man?
Rocket Man, yeah.
Yeah. Rocket Man. I don't know. We'll see. What do you want to say anything? Go.
It just it's mind blowing. You have the Russian nuclear threat. Now you have the Philippines and China, and now we're looking at North Korea's nuclear threat. We're going nuclear, man.
And not only that, now they're talking about upping it from 300,000 in Russia to 1 million. And there's a bunch of these people.
Draftees?
Yeah. Well, they're talking 1 million. And now you got a bunch of these kids and these people that they're all like, they can't walk, they can't run fast enough to get across the border. I heard that plane tickets, you can't even get a plane ticket. Those people can't even get out. It's like, they're going to have to face the music. But, I don't know. I don't know if Putin's going to back them with chemical weapons and nuclear weapons. This country, I got to tell you, I'm 62 years old, and I'll tell you, I just never thought I'd be seeing this. I'll be honest with you. Not like the way it's coming. Listen, I got some news. This kind of sparked my fancy when I read this, because PayPal out there now is sparking an outrage after shutting down accounts of Britain's free speech union, PayPal. U.S. financial tech company PayPal has been accused of a sinister form of cancel culture after its decision. I didn't even learn cancel culture. These words, these pronouns, these his, hers, whatever they are. Hell, I don't know. Anyway, it's like you just have to learn by doing, I guess.
Right.
So, Mr. Robert? No. Anyway, PayPal's been accused of a sinister form of cancel culture after its decision to shut down the accounts of the Free Speech Union, a UK body that defends and supports members who are unfairly targeted or discriminated against by their employers for exercising their legal right to speech. We were just talking about this the other day. Free speech is gone. That's why I got to be so careful. I don't want to say anything on here that might get me cancel culture. Right. I want to just, I want to get the word out. Look, I'm not in here to make money on this or anything like this. I just want to spread the word. I want you to know that there's a way out. And that way out is to get into physical gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Get into things that are real hard assets. Diversify, but diversify in tangible assets, not in paper debt instruments like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Now, let me tell you something that what caught my attention was not only did they go after the British, but they went after, I got to be careful how I say this, they went after the gays against the groomers.
You're walking on eggshells now.
I got to share it, though. So founder Jamie Michelle, the gay who strayed, he appeared on Tucker last night on Fox to discuss, Jamie Michelle, to discuss her organization has been banned not only by PayPal, but by Venmo. And she said, we're not scared, we're not intimidated, and we're not going to stop, is what she told Tucker last night. So they're even going after free speech of the gay community, it sounds like. Here's what she said. The founder, and Jamie Michelle told Tucker on Tuesday They say they took our account down for discriminatory behavior, but I think that is exactly what they did to us. Oh, whoa. Man, you better be careful, PayPal. You might get a lot of drag queens. You might get a lot of men, women, pom-poms, floats, all at your door. You better be careful. I'll tell you what, I never used them anyway. I never use these people anyway. I don't trust these people. I don't trust them.
Don't trust them.
No way, Jose. You'll be shutting me down. I don't have an account. I don't have an account with PayPal.
Yeah.
I don't need no PayPal account. I got gold and silver. Listen, and the next one is my last one. And you see that guy, Jim.
Open your ears,
Yeah,
people.
you got to hear this. You hear about Jim Cramer. Buy. Even when the stock market was crashing in 08. Buy, he was saying.
He's always
ringing
wrong.
his bell, and he's always wrong. Yeah, he's always wrong. Well, anyway, there's another one. Only this one is in hiding. And he was CNBC. He was on the exchange. And his name is James McDonald.
If you saw his face, you know.
You'd remember him. You remember him. You got to check this out. So James McDonald has Hercules Investments. And he also did a show called Fast Money, Hercules Investments, Fast Money. He did Squawk Box. I mean, everybody was listening to this guy. He was on the CNBC Market Alert, and he was talking about, how he wanted to inspire the next generation of Black Americans, encouraging them to go after whatever they want and be all that you can be. And guess what? James McDonald, founder and CEO, is now wanted. He is allegedly accused, of fraud for bilking clients. The same people that he told that he was supposedly working with. Accused of fraud for bilking clients out of millions after shorting the market on Biden's election. James McDonald Jr. is facing up to 20 years in jail right now for a risky short in late 2020 and a subsequent capital raise. He's thought to be in hiding right now. Well, that's the news. You all have a wonderful weekend. Don't get in any trouble. Stay safe. Watch out for the migrants.
Just keep it low key.
Yeah. Just watch your back now. That's what you got to do. I mean, you're in Los Angeles. You can't even go to a restaurant wearing a Timex.
Just think about that.
They'll take your Timex.
You can't even walk down the street, Hollywood Boulevard.
No.
Without, probably getting robbed.
Yeah. And
unreal.
And here in Los Angeles, I mean, literally they feed drugs. I'm telling you, they feed drugs to the people that are housed on the streets. They're giving them needles. They're giving them all kind of stuff just to feed their habit. Well, in my days, that was called enabling. Peace. Good night. Love you all. God bless. We'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Perfect.
That one went good.
That was a good one.